Hello, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is YAHMAD. Today we're going to be looking at paper 2 from the Information and Communication Technology course code 0417. We're looking at the May-June 2018 paper version 22. So paper 2 is a 2 hour and 30-minute long paper. We're going to be focusing on data manipulation, which is databases. So if I skip down to page 5, so task 3, database. You are now going to prepare some reports for the company. Make sure all currency values display the same and the currency symbol are set to 2 decimal places. So we need to make sure we use the same currency for all values. Dates are to be displayed in a format 2 characters for day, 3 characters for month, and then 2 characters for year. So we can have a look down here for some more information. So we have an example here. So we've got 19 JUN for June and 07 for 2007. Okay, so we need to import this file, so J228 apprentices.csv into a suitable database package. Before you import the file, if you want, you can open it up and have a look at the fields, just to get an idea what sort of information we're going to have. Make sure when you do import, you close this down. So it's useful to do this just to get familiar with the fields if you want. So you can see day release is shown as -1 and 0, so this will be the Boolean field. This probably will be the wage will be a currency. Okay, so we just got some information here: vacancy, level, employer name, subject ref, learning provider number, and so forth. So we can close this down. So let's make a new database. So if I right click, select new, then select Microsoft Access database, and I'm going to call it 2018 Summer 22. So you can call your database any name you want. So I'm using Office 365. Enable content. So to import a CSV file, we need to click on External Data, New Data Source, From File, and then select Text File. And then what we need to do is browse for the CSV file. So I'm just going to pause the video until I find the location of the CSV file. Okay, I'm back now. So I basically found the location of the CSV file. So if we click on browse again, the CSV file which we need to select is going to be, let me just go back up again, J228 apprentices.csv. So always double check what you're doing. So let's select this one here, open. Okay. Now we need to click on next. When we get to this point here, we need to select first row contains field names. So as you can see, the first row contains field names, and then the records are the actual employer names. And then we need to click on advanced. When you get to this point here, you need to check to see if the data is in the correct format. So it should be day, month, and year. And then we should be checking the fields, okay, so the data types. The first thing we should do is change the Boolean field so it displays yes and no. Okay, so if I go back to access and if I go back down to day release, I need to change the data type here to display yes or no. So if I change it here, then later on we can change the format to display yes or no. If you don't change it here, then you'll get a little tick box which you can't change later on. Okay, the next thing we need to check is the rest of the data type. So the first 6 fields 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 should be shown as text. Okay, so let me go to the top. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So subject ref should be changed to short text as well. And then number should be integer. So yeah, that's fine. Closing date should be date. We can change the format later. So closing date is date and time. And then a wage is set as double. Double basically contains decimal numbers, so we can leave this as double for now, and then later on change the format to a currency in design view once we've imported the CSV file. Okay, and then next. Now we need to check to see if we need to apply a primary key. So it says set the vacancy ID field as the primary key. So do not get confused, because you've got 2 fields which can include vacancy. You've got the first field and then the ID field. So when you are setting the primary key, just be careful. We need to choose this vacancy ID as the primary key. the primary key will contain unique values for each record. Next, and then finish. Okay, so once we've imported the table, we can change the day release to show yes and no. So if you go to Home, Design View, we can click on day release, click on the format, select yes or no, and then we can also change the wage field to show the currency. So if you click on a number, we want to leave the field size as double, and then underneath we can change this to currency, and then view, and I've got the pounds shown as default. Okay, so that's the first table imported. We can press save. Let's close this down. Okay, let's go down and have a look. So we have to save the data, which I just did, and then for evidence we need to take a screenshot showing the field names and data types used in the table and place this into your evidence document as evidence 4. So if I open up the table again actually and go to design view, I basically need to print screen this table showing that we changed the data types accordingly. So if I press my print screen button, and then if I go to my evidence document, I can paste in. So make sure when you are doing the evidence, you make sure the print screens are clear and you can see all of the information. It's no point making the print screen small, then it would make it more difficult for the examiner to mark. So you want to make the print screen as clear as possible so it's easier for the examiner to give you the necessary marks. So let me save the changes. Let me come back to Access. Okay, let's close this table now. And let's come down to the second question of databases. So now we have to import the next file, so J228 framework.csv as a new table into your database. So we're going to again repeat the same steps. So we need to click on external data, new data source, from file, and then click on text file. Again, we can browse in the same location, and this is a file we need. So we can double check, yep, the framework file. Open, okay, next, and again the first row contains the field name, so you've got subject name, subject ID, and then again we need to go to advanced, and you'll notice we've got a table here now, so all the data types need to be selected as text, including subject ID. So if you come back to here, you'll notice subject ID is shown as long integer. We want to change that to short text. Also double check the date, month and year. There is no date field, so it shouldn't really matter in this case. Okay, next, and let's check to see if we have a primary key. So the subject ID field as a primary key, so again it's going to be the second field. So choose my own primary key, and don't get confused, you've got subject name and subject ID. Make sure you select subject ID as the primary key. Next, and then finish. So if I open up this table, I don't need to change any of the data types because all of the information is shown as text. Okay, so now we're going to create a one-to-many relationship between a subject ID field. So let me just close the tables down. Let's save the changes. Before we make the relationship, you need to make sure you close the tables down. So if any table is open, click on the X, go to Database Tools, Relationships, add both of the tables. Okay, so remember we're going to be using the primary keys to make the links. So now let's read the question a little bit carefully. So create a one-to-many relationship between a subject ID field in a framework table. So it's going to be this field in a framework table, and the subject ref in the apprentice table. So basically we're going to link the subject ID to the subject ref. Okay, so if you drag from the primary key onto the foreign key, it's going to be a one-to-many relationship. I know I'm going to be doing a print screen in a second, so place in your evidence document screenshots, so we can do multiple print screens here showing a type of relationship between the two tables. So the first print screen I'm going to take is this example here, showing a one-to-many relationship. So if I press my print screen button again, and if we go down, so this is evidence 5. Let's crop the table. Okay, and we can make this bigger, and then let's take the second print screen. If I press OK, then we can show this link here as well. So if I press print screen, just going to make this a little bit smaller so we can get everything fitting onto one page. Whoops, let's go forward again. Crop. And remember, for the print screens, it's up to you. You can also use the snipping tool, just whatever you feel more comfortable using. It's up to you in this case. Let's make this a bit bigger. Do you know what? It doesn't matter if it comes onto the next page actually, so it's fine as long as it's under evidence 5. Okay, so let me save the changes. Okay, let's go back to access. We can close this, save the changes. Yep. And then if we click on the plus, we can see the relationship between the records. Okay, so it's basically, if I open up this a table here, so it's basically this is now linking to the subject ID. So here, if it says 403, it's going to link to this record here, which is 403. Okay, so let's close this down. We've done the evidence. Now we're going to create a data entry form. Okay, includes all of the fields from the apprentices table. So we need to make sure we create the data entry form using the correct table. So to create a data entry form, if I click on create form wizard, and make sure you select the correct table using all of the fields. So if you highlight and send them all across, or click on this icon and send it all across, all the fields. Next, next. Just before I do go next, make sure this option is selected to ensure the data entry form will appear in columns. Next, and then we can put a suitable title as well. So data entry form, finish. Okay, so if we go back to the question, so display the fields headings left aligned in a column format. So the headings are left aligned, and then the information for each record is on the right hand side. So before we can continue, we can just slightly format this, so we can just decrease the size of the fields, because these fields don't need to be so long. We can apply some simple formatting like buttons. So let me go to design view, and I'm quickly going to format this. So if I press, actually let me just reduce the size of these fields here. They don't need to be as long. Okay, and then I'm also going to reduce the height as well of the fields. Okay, so right, so let's start moving these up slightly. So in some exam questions, they'll say to you, make improvements to the form, and then talk about improvements in the evidence document. So in past examples, maybe adding buttons or adding drop-down menus, or adding colors would be types of improvements that you can make to the form, or adding some instructions perhaps. So if we go to view, you can see it looks a little bit better, and then we've got the last field here at the bottom. So this is a Boolean field, but if I go back to my question, it says instead use radio buttons in the day release field to select the options yes or no. These values are to be stored as -1 for yes and 0 for no in the day release field. So this is the first time I've seen it in any of these question papers where they ask you to create a radio button to select the options for the Boolean, so for either yes or no. So what I'm going to do first of all is, if I go to design view, let me just finish fixing this. I'm just going to change the formatting to left align. Let me see if that's changed. Okay, that's gone to left align. If I go to the bottom, I'm going to just move this up. Day release. I'm going to delete this for now actually. And then what we need to do is we need to click on this option here, option group, and we're going to create some radio buttons. Okay, so the option is going to be yes or no. So if I type in yes or no, then if I go to next, yes, the default choice will be yes, so automatically yes will be selected when you come onto this form. You can also choose no, but the default option will be yes. So you can also select I don't want a default, but it's fine to leave it as yes. Then if you click to next, so yes will be, if I go to my question paper, these values are to be stored as -1 for yes. So in the values we can put here -1, and then for no it's going to be stored as 0. So if you go back to here and note for 0 in the day release field. So then if we go back or go next, okay, store the value in this field, and then what we can do, we can come down and select the day release. Okay, then next, then we can choose what sort of boxes you want, so that's fine with me, I'm happy with that. Next, and then what caption do you want for the option group? So what we can say is we can say for day release. Okay, so that's the name of the field. So if I do day underscore, okay, and finish. So if I go to view, form view, you can see for day release the default option has been selected for yes. Obviously we can select no as well, and these options will store in this particular field. So for day release, we can add buttons, but it's not necessary. So I'm just going to press save. Include a suitable heading in a large bold font. So what I'm going to do is, if I go to design view, yeah, I think that's suitable, so don't need that code. I'm going to highlight this text here, and let's make the information a bit bigger, so 36. I can change the color to black, and then bold. Okay, let me just check. So the field headings are left aligned. Yep, we did that. Includes a suitable heading in a large bold font. Ensure all fields and data are fully visible and the layout is consistent. The last thing that actually I'm going to do, I'm going to add a few buttons. So it's always good to add some buttons for your form. So if I go back to design view, design, I'm just going to add a few buttons. So the buttons I tend to add is normally to go to the first record, and then to the last record, and then navigate between the records. So this is to go to the first record. Next, always show the picture because it's more obvious if you clicked on text, it just takes up more space. So use the picture, it's quite obvious what that icon does. Next, finish. So this will take us to the first record. This will take us to the last record. Keep the picture again. Now I want to include buttons just to go backwards and forwards. Yeah, go to the previous record. Next, finish, and then go to the next record. Again, look at the picture. Next, finish. Let's just straighten this out. Okay, and then I'm going to add a button to add a new data add a new record. So if I go to record operations, let's select add new record. This the picture doesn't really show what this button represents, so it might be easier to click this option here to show add record. Next, and finish. And then maybe we can also include a button to close the form. So if you go to form operations, close the form. Next, include a text because maybe the picture is not as clear as the text. Okay, so that's finished. Just going to decrease the size of this field because it doesn't have to be so big. Okay, and I'm just going to press Control on the field names, and if we go to home, I'm just going to make them bold and black as well, so it just stands out a little bit better. Yep, I'm happy with that. So now what we need to do is place in your evidence document screenshots to show the radio buttons design with the value stored in the day release field. I should have taken a print screen before. Okay, so let me just see if I can go back and go to the property sheet. I'm just seeing. Right, I'm just going to pause the video and then I'll come back in a second. Okay, so I've now come back to the video. So the print screen I can take is if you open up your property sheet. So if you click on this icon up here, property sheet, and then if you click on the yes button here, or let me just double select the yes, you'll see the option is shown here. So basically what the question was asking us, screenshots to show the radio buttons design with the value stored in a day release field. Okay, so I can take this print screen, so I'm going to take a few print screens, and then also I'm going to show you the other print screen we should have taken before. So it's the evidence 6 now, so let me take the first print screen. So this is for the yes. Okay, so just gonna okay, that's the first one. But I think the best print screen will be when we're creating the form. So if we click on no, and that's now saved as 0. So let me press print screen. Let's crop. Okay, and then what we could have done is if I just go let's just pretend I'm going to make another one again. So if I type in yes, no, next, next, and this would have been the perfect print screen to take. So yes would have been set as so -1 for yes. Okay, and then for no it should have been set as 0. So I think this would have been the best print screen to take. So let me just print screen this. So it doesn't matter if you take multiple screenshots, you know, that's what the question is asking us. You can take as many screenshots as you want. Crop. And then if I press enter, the last print screen which we can take is the one which shows the values will be stored in this particular field here, so day release. So let me just take a print screen here. I'm going to press cancel because obviously I made this before, so I don't need this. So just to bear something in mind, I think whilst you're making it, I think you should take some print screens, or maybe read ahead. I didn't really read ahead of the question and see what I had to do. Crop. Okay, so there we go, that's our print screens. And then the last thing I'm going to print screen is the actual design of the radio buttons. So if I come to view, and then we can print screen this design. So I'm going to crop. Here we go, that's nice and clear. Save the changes. Okay, so that's our evidence done. So now use the form created in step 20 to enter the following details as a new record. So I'm going to use my buttons now. Remember, these buttons go backwards and forwards. This one will take you to the first record. This will take you to the last record. If I click here, we can add a new record. I'm going to copy in the information. So when you are copying information, obviously you'll have to type the information. I can copy and paste. Make sure you type it in accurately. If there's capital letters, you need to use capital letters. When there's lowercase, it should be lowercase. Don't make spelling mistakes. Regressive futures. Let me copy that. 449 is a subject ref. Aspire learning, the number is 2. The closing date was 15th August 2018. So if I type in Yeah, that's fine. And then the wage was 133. Is it in decimal? Yeah, we've got .00, and the day release is yes. So I can press save, and this new record has now been added to our table. Okay, so check the data for any errors. I've copy and pasted, so there shouldn't be any mistakes. Ensure all data is fully visible. Save the data, and then place in your evidence document a screenshot showing this data in your form. So let's go to here. Let me just take another print screen again. Print screen. So this is the next evidence. Format, crop, crop the parts that we don't need, and then we can increase the size so it's a nice clear print screen showing the data entry form, showing a new record that we've just entered into the data entry form. So let me press save. Okay, so that's that part done. Okay, so now this is the query and report question. So as you can see, I've annotated the question. So in amber, I've annotated the query tasks, which is always done before the report. And then in green, I've identified the report tasks. Okay, I've also annotated the runtime field, a new field, so over here, and then the search criteria which we're going to be using. And I've also identified the first two tasks that we're going to be doing in the query. So I just want to first of all bring your attention to my website. So if you do go to my website and then go to IGCSE Practical Chapter 18, I will leave a link below in the description. And then if you click on Database Overview, this will open up the PDF you need to complete this chapter. So this PDF contains all of the information. We're going to be looking specifically at annotating the question paper. So the reason I annotate and recommend my students to annotate the question paper, it makes your life so much easier. You'll notice these bullet points are not in any sort of order, so you need to put this into some sort of context, some sort of order. So before we can make the report, we have to create the query. And so the first thing you'll see is I've identified each bullet point to either query or report task. I've annotated the runtime formula. Okay, I've identified the search criteria, and key parts of the question have been highlighted. So how do we identify what we're doing in a query or what we're doing in a report? So let's have a look. The first thing we should be looking to do is to identify the bullet point which shows us which fields we need to select for this report. So what you should do is click on Create Query Wizard, and then you may have to select the fields from the two different tables. Make sure you select the fields in the order shown. So these are 3 different examples. And then what you can do is name the query with the same title that will appear at the top of the report. This makes it easier to identify the query to the report. If it's a flat file database, the name will automatically appear at the top of the report. If it's a relationship database, you may need to re-enter the name again in a report wizard. But it's always useful to make sure the same name appears on a query as well as a report. So if I go back to my question, so you'll see the first thing I've identified is show these fields. Okay, the second thing I've identified is the title that will appear at the top of the page. So if I go to access, I'm going to save this form. Let's close it down. So let's do it step by step. So create query wizard. Okay, show only the fields of vacancy, level, closing date. So vacancy, level, closing date. So make sure you're not getting confused between vacancy ID and vacancy. So it's vacancy, level, closing date. Employer name and day release. So employer name and day release. Wage, bonus wage. The bonus wage is the one we're going to create. So I can ignore this one for now. So I just need to add this last field. So all of the information was from one table. So next. When you get to here, it's very useful to label this with the same title that will appear at the top of the report. Make sure you include capital letters where necessary, so capital V and then capital A for August. It's a simple mistake people will make. Finish. So we start off with 454 records, and we can see the fields which we have selected here. Right, so if I press save, okay. So the next thing we should be doing, if I go back to my website, is to then identify the search criteria. So here we've got some examples. Show only where the record build year after 2010, so we can use greater than, then a particular date. Length is 40 or less, then we can use less than 40, so less than or equal to 40. Sometimes, you know, it may say show only the records where the country is France, so you type in France and a car has not been dispatched, so that if there's a boolean field you type in no. In this example here, a typical mistake people could make is excludes those activities located in Scotland. Some people will just write Scotland, but what we need to find is those activities which do not include Scotland. Okay, so you have to include not Scotland. So it's really important you're familiar with the different search criteria. So if you're searching between dates, you can write between the first and the second date, or between numbers, the first and the second number. If you're searching between values, you can type in or between the values. If you want to find something not including, you type in not, or you can also type in the less than and more than together. If you want to find less than a number, just do the less than, then that particular number. Greater than would be like this. Let's say you wanted to do, for example, 90 or more, you do greater than and then equal to 90. If you want to find something that starts with a particular number, you type that number or letter, then star. If you want to find something that ends with a particular number, you put a star first. So if you get confused with this, you can play around in design view. So yeah, and the last thing I want to say is sometimes there may be many words in a particular field. So sometimes what you'd have to do, if you wanted to find the actor Channing Tatum, you'd have to put star, Channing Tatum, star, and then automatically like will appear. And the last thing before we move on, sometimes you can search by a field, but then untick this box to not display the field, but still the results will be filtered. And you should be entering the search criteria one at a time to see if the results have been filtered. Every time you type in the search criteria, it should reduce the results. So let's see here, show only the records where level is advanced or higher. So level is going to be advanced or it's going to be higher. Okay, so that's multiple options. We're going to type in or. So let me get rid of this property sheet. So it's going to be, let me double check again, advanced or higher, or higher. Click on run. So as you can see, now we're down to 66 records and I can see advanced or higher only. So remember, one thing at a time. The closing date is on or before the 31st of August 2018. So what we can say is less than or equal to the 31st/08/2018. So basically the closing date will be before or on 31st of August 2018. That's why I've included the equal. So before or on this date. So what you type is less than or equal to, let me just double check the date again, 31st August 2018. So 31st August 2018. And I've just remembered one thing, and I've actually remembered I forgot to do this previously, so we can fix this now. So look at, even myself, I've made a few mistakes. So the closing date, it should have been shown in this format here. So I've just reminded myself, if I just close this, I can come back to this. If I go to apprentices, design view, closing date, and then the format, the date will be medium date. Okay. Then if I change, yes. So can you see the dates change? If I save that, and I'm hoping if I close that and open up the query again, the dates has been changed. So you can always go back, and if you did make a mistake, you can correct the mistake. So as you can see, everyone makes mistakes. Right, and subject name excludes accounting. So the subject name is not an existing field. So what we need to do, so that's going to come from the other table. So if you click on show table framework, Okay, and then you can add subject name, and we want to exclude the fields which contains accounting. So as you can see, accounting is a single word. It's not really mixed in with anything else. Yeah, so what we can do, so accounting is a single word, it's not many words. So what we can do is, if you go to design view, subject name, type in not accounting, make sure you spell it right, run, and then you can see we don't have any accounting fields, and we're now down to 40 records. I don't need to show this field, so we can untick this box, and you'll still notice we're down to 40 records. So let me save the changes. Okay, so now I'm going to go back to my PowerPoint. So we've done the search criteria, and the next thing we should be looking to do is the calculated runtime field. So in this example here, in the design view, we created a new field called new stock level, and it's taking the existing current stock. So current stock is in square brackets because it's an existing field, and we're adding basically 5 to the current stock. So when you're creating the new field, you need to first of all write the name in design view, and then include colon, and then if you're using an existing field, you need to include square brackets. Okay, and then we're also going to be adding 5. So let's look at some examples before we move on. So here's some examples. So it contains a new field called total births, so that's the name of the new field, followed by a colon, okay, which is calculated at runtime. This field will calculate the total number of births by adding sleeps plus crew. So you'll notice sleeps and crew is italic, so that means it's a field. If you're not sure if there's a field or not, you can always just come up here and check the tables to see if they're field names or not. Okay, so let me go back here. This is another example here. So contains a new field called daily cost. Again, we've got a colon after the name of the field. Calculated runtime. This field will calculate the cost. So that's another field in square brackets. Okay, divided by duration. Again, you can see it's italic, so it's a clue, it's a field. And the last one, delivered price. So delivered underscore price colon. This will calculate the cost price of the car plus a standard delivery charge of 200. 200 is not in square brackets because it's not a field name. So if we look at this example here, the question is, contains a new field called bonus wage. So we've done that, bonus underscore wage colon, which is calculated at runtime and displayed as a currency. So we can format it as currency later. This field will calculate the wage, so we've got the wage in square brackets because it's a field, and you can see it's italic, plus 4% of the wage. So what we need to do, we need to add the existing wage, then I've got the curly brackets, and in the curly brackets we're doing a multiplication, so it's basically going to be the wage multiplied by 0.004, which is basically 4% shown as a decimal number. So let's create this now. So if I go to design view, to create the new field, let's come to the very end. The first thing we should type, exactly as it appears, bonus underscore wage. Make sure you use the capital letters where necessary. So bonus, capital B, wage, and then colon. And then this field will calculate the wage, so which is an existing field. So we put that into square brackets. Plus, and then if I do a curly bracket, again it's going to be wage, now square brackets again, multiplied by 4%, which is 0.04. Close the curly brackets. Whatever's in this curly bracket will basically be added to the wage here. So if I click on run, I hope this works. So yes, we've got this here, it's worked. Okay, so yeah, so it's basically the wage plus 4%. So let's have a look here. So the field will calculate the wage plus 4% of the wage. Yep. And then now we have to format it as a currency. So if you go back into design view, click on it here, property sheet, format currency, run. So you can see we've got pound sign here, pound sign here as well. So we've done that, and we've pretty much done the query task now. So Before you move on to the report, make sure the new field is shown, is typed in exactly as it should appear. So capital B underscore capital W. We've got the currency value showing, okay, for the fields, and the search criteria has been checked and is correct, and any fields which are not meant to be showing have been unticked here. So we checked the search criteria one at a time, so I'm happy, and now I can continue. So when you are making a report, you can do the sorting in report wizard, okay, and then you can also set the page orientation in a report wizard as well. So sort the data and page orientation in landscape. So to make the report, if I go to create report, actually let me just make sure I press save. Report wizard, this is the same query, yep, select all of the fields, in the same order, next. Now let's have a look. Sorts the data into ascending order of level. Now remember, when you do this, it does mess up the order, so we'll have to change it back in a moment. Order of level, and then descending order of wage. So wage, descending. Next, is it portrait or is it landscape? It's landscape, so we can select landscape. Next, and you can see that the title is still here, so sometimes you'd have to enter the title again, but remember, for the second step, when you enter the title, sometimes it will still be at the end of the report wizard. If not, just re-enter it again. Finish. And as you can see, we've got some hashtags. It doesn't fit on a single page wide this moment in time. So what I need to do now is, if I click on close, and then if I go to layout view, so I've got my title. Well, what is the first field that we should be showing? So it should be vacancy level. So what I'm going to do, because we've done a sort on these fields, is brought them to the front. So I'm just going to move them across, and it's going to be vacancy, which is the first field we have to show in this order. So I'm just going to crop it for now because I want to move these things across, and then I just want to make the space so I can get the fields into the right order. Right, so after the vacancy it was level, so let me now just okay, so that shows that information in full. Yeah, so now it's going to be level, so we can move this back. So I'm pressing Control to select the heading and also the information. Let me go down. Yep, that's all been selected. So after level, closing date, employer name. So we can move the closing date to here. I'm going to move this just over here, and yeah, closing date is shown in full. Let's move this across here. You don't want to crop off the information, so enterprise must be the longest one. Yeah, and then after employer name, day release, wage. So I can move this one here, and now the fields are shown in a correct order. We can just move this one slightly across. Okay, so I'm happy with that. So now we can say it fits on a single page wide. I've got the title at the top. Now we just need to format it so it displays in a larger font, which it is actually, but what you can do, if you go to design view, if you want to make it a little bit bigger, go to home, 28, black, and let's just increase the size. Go back to view. Yep, I'm happy with that. Now we've got to calculate the number of vacancies and place this below the level column. So this is going to be a count. So if I go to layout view, this is where we can do formulas. So where do we need to place it again? Underneath the level column. So if you click on level, go to totals, and we can count, and that should put a number below this column here. So we've got 40. That's because we had 40 records coming into the report. Has a label, number of jobs. Make sure you use a capital N. Left of this value. So if we go to design view, design, capital letter for number, and then jobs. so it's on the left. Sometimes it might say put a label on the right. Let me double check actually. Get to the left of this value. And then it has your name, centre number and candidate number on every page of the report. So remember, you got the report header, which will be, if I put my name here, it would be on the first page of the report. Report footer would mean my name would appear on the last page of the report, but I want the name to appear on every page. So does it specify if it wants to be in the header or the footer? No, just on every page. So I could put my name in the page header or on a page footer. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to increase the size of the page footer, and then using the label, I'm going to include the name information. So Yasser Ahmed, and then obviously in the exam you'll be given your centre number and candidate number. I'm just going to make up some numbers for now. And before we print, we should be checking the print preview. So if I zoom out, you want to check to see if all of the data appears. Nothing has been cut off, is in the same correct order. So how many pages do we have? So we've got 2 pages, and you can see my name is here on the bottom of this page and also on the bottom of this page. So I'm happy I can send this to print. So print, and that's the first report done. If I go back to the PDF again, obviously when you are doing a report, make sure the title in the report wizard will show at the top. And if you go to layout view, you can edit the contents of the report. In the design view, you can add your header and footer. Okay, so remember, this is no good. Obviously, the hashtags means all of the information can't be displayed, so you may have to increase the size of the fields. Also, remember to put the fields back into the correct order. Okay, and sometimes you may be asked to do like a sum, so make sure you're in layout view. Click on a column you want to do the sum for, and then use the function tool to do whatever you need to do. So either adding, average, counting, and then if you go to design view, you can add a label to place next to the sum you've done. Okay, let's have a look at the question paper now. So save and print. Next evidence is placing the evidence document a screenshot showing a formula used to calculate the number of vacancies. So after you printed, then I just click on close, and this is a formula here. So what we can do then is, if you print screen, and then this was evidence 8. Crop. We can increase the size, so whoops. There we go, that shows the formula nice and clear. Save the changes. Okay, so that's done. Right, so now to finish off this task, what we need to do is produce an extract from all of the data. So if I come back to my PowerPoint, my PDF, if I come to the very bottom, so when it asks you to do it, create an extract, okay, this will be normally a table which will be imported into your Word document. So as you can see, it's just basically you select the fields, you do the query, you get the table, then you can export it into the particular format you need to export it as, and then you can import it, copy and paste it into your Word document. So the extract will be copy and pasted, so we don't have to make the report, we just have to do the query for this particular task. So again, same sorts of steps that we normally do in a query. So let me save the changes. We're going to go to create query wizard. We're going to select from the table, so we don't want to select from the query, this only has now 40 records. We need to select the fields from the table. So what do we need to do? Show only the fields vacancy ID and vacancy and wage in this order. So let me double check again. Vacancy ID first, and then vacancy, and then wage. Next, next, and we can just call it an extract. It doesn't really matter what you call it. Finish, and again we should have 454 records. Right, vacancy includes engineer. Okay, so this time, okay, if I go back to my PDF, we're going to be using the search criteria which we use here for the actors. So if I put star and star, it's going to find anything that contains Channing Tatum. So it could be at the start, it could be in the middle, it could be at the end. So if I come to here, so the vacancy includes engineer. So as you can see here, star and star. So design view, star, engineer. Make sure you spell it right. Star again. If you click anywhere else, you'll see like. That's fine. That's normal. And if I click on here, and you can see engineer in each of these fields now. And now we're down to 34 records. Level is intermediate. So we don't have level here. So what we can do, we can add the level field. I'm just going to copy and paste this. Control C. So the level has to be intermediate. Run, and now we're down to 18 records, but we don't want to show this. So we can search but not show a particular field. That's normal. So untick to not show. We're still down to 18 records. And then the wage is going to be 150 or more. So greater than or equal to 150. So greater than or equal to 150. So we've done the search criteria, we select the fields. Because we're not making a report, we can do the sort now. So sorts of wage into ascending order. So wage into ascending. But in a normal report task, you do a sort in a report wizard. So as you can see, it goes from the lowest to the highest number. So let's press save. Okay, save the extract, which you just did. Now what we need to do is export the extract, creating step 23. Okay, into an RTF format. So to extract the extract, we'll just close this down. You can right click, export as a Word RTF file. Okay, we can choose the same folder, call it an extract, rich text format, save. Okay, if we go to my folder, where can we, if I open it up, here's the extract and ready for us to copy and paste into our Word document later on. So we can close that down. Okay, so we save and place in your evidence document a screenshot to show the exported file saved in your area. Okay, so if I go to my folder, we can see this is the extract as an RTF. So I'm going to print screen. This is evidence 9. Okay, again we can just crop this. Just making it a little bit bigger so you can see I've saved it into my particular folder. Okay, and I've highlighted the file as well. Right, and to finish off, question 25, answer the following questions using your own words. Type your answers in your evidence document. Okay, so we've got 2 questions. Okay, so question A, describe what is meant by data verification. So to save time, I've copied and pasted the information straight into my evidence document, so from the mark scheme. So data verification is basically reducing, preventing errors when data is copied from one medium to another, and also checking the accuracy of data entered exactly matches the original source. So an example would be, let's say for example you are setting a password for your email account. You may be asked to enter the password twice. The second entry will be compared to the first entry to make sure both matches are the same. Okay, so it's basically to ensure you're not making a mistake when entering data. The second question is, name 2 methods of data verification, and for one of these methods explain how it could be used within this database. So the 2 methods are double data entries. That's where you have to write something twice. And then the second option, or the second method, is the visual verification check. So that's where you check the information against the original source. So an example is how we could use double data entry. Data will be entered twice. It could be entered using 2 different people, and a computer will compare the 2 entries entered. So obviously if the 2 data do not match, then there will be some sort of error. So basically we're checking to see if the data matches the first piece of data that was entered. So guys, we've come now to the end of this database section. So we've completed now the database from the paper to 2018 paper, version 22, May-June 2018. Thank you for your time. Please subscribe to the channel. Thank you for those people who have subscribed already. Hopefully I will be making many more videos coming soon. Thanks again. Take care.